Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now it's been a few weeks since George dropped a bomb on his blog about House of the Dragon, and it seems HBO has finally started to respond, and as you can imagine, it seems they've completely disregarded George R.R. Martin and even the fans' concerns. Casey Bloys, who, for those who don't know, is the CEO of HBO, recently sat down for an interview with Deadline, where he discussed the future of several major HBO series. But things got really interesting when the interviewer asked him about House of the Dragon's chances for an Emmy, especially considering how the fans were divided over Season 2. Bloys had a pretty surprising response to that. He replied by saying, "Well, I'm not sure that the fans were divided over Season 2. To which the interviewer cheekily responded, "Maybe it was just George R.R. Martin?" And this is where things got interesting. Casey Bloys fired back with, "Yes, maybe one fan was. But no, the show did really, really well. I expect that it will be in competition." A bold statement, if you ask me. It's almost laughable that he'd say fans aren't divided over Season 2. The only way that could be true is if Casey Bloys has somehow avoided the internet altogether. No phone, no computer, nothing. A quick search on any major site, or even a glance at the show's own Reddit sub-forum, shows how vocal fans have been about their disappointment and criticism. It's no secret that a significant portion of the audience has raised issues with the season, making Bloys' comment completely out of touch with the reality of fan reactions. But what's really shocking isn't just Bloys denying the divide among fans, it's how he referred to George R.R. Martin as just a fan. This is the guy who created the world of Westeros. To dismiss him like that shows just how much, or rather, how little, they seem to value his input on his own creation. Who could possibly understand the story and its characters better than Martin himself? It's not unreasonable to think his opinion should hold a lot more weight in shaping the show. What makes this even more telling is that Martin rarely speaks out against adaptations of his work, so the fact that he did this time really highlights how strongly he feels that the show is heading in the wrong direction. Bloys' comment downplays Martin's role to that of an ordinary viewer, which just feels disrespectful given everything Martin's vision has brought to HBO. HBO itself has also released a statement saying, "There are few greater fans of George R.R. Martin and his book Fire and Blood than the creative team on House of the Dragon, both in production and at HBO. Commonly, when adapting a book for the screen, with its own format and limitations, the showrunner ultimately is required to make difficult choices about the characters and stories the audience will follow. We believe that Ryan Condal and his team have done an extraordinary job, and the millions of fans the series has amassed over the first 2 seasons will continue to enjoy it." Showrunner Ryan Condal also addressed the challenge of adapting Fire and Blood for the small screen on the latest installment of the official Game of Thrones podcast. He called Martin's tome a history book that doesn't necessarily come with fully fleshed-out moments or characters. This statement feels like HBO's way of politely deflecting criticism while doubling down on their creative decisions. They claim that the House of the Dragon team are some of the biggest fans of George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. Yet, if they truly valued the source material and Martin's input, why brush off his concerns? Saying that the showrunner has to make difficult choices when adapting a book is understandable, but it doesn't justify straying too far from the author's vision, especially when the creator himself is voicing concerns. The mention of Fire and Blood being a history book that lacks fully fleshed-out moments or characters comes off as a bit of a convenient excuse for altering plot points or character arcs. Sure, Fire and Blood is written in a historical style, but that doesn't mean it's devoid of narrative structure or character depth. What's odd here is that Martin's very detailed world-building is what made these characters and their conflicts so engaging to begin with. If they're making changes, it should be to bring that depth to the screen, not dilute it. HBO's emphasis on the millions of fans enjoying the show is a classic move to sidestep criticism. Just because a show has viewers doesn't mean it's above critique. The statement comes across as a polite dismissal of Martin's input, rather than a genuine engagement with his feedback. It feels more like HBO saying, "Thanks for the books, but we'll take it from here," which isn't what die-hard fans of Game of Thrones or Martin want to hear. Now, on a brighter note, Game of Thrones media and news site Westerosis took the opportunity to ask Mattson Tomlin, in a recent interview, about his approach to writing HBO's upcoming Game of Thrones spin-off series, Aegon's Conquest. Westerosis sought insight into his approach to adapting this new series, which explores the Targaryen conquest of Westeros, a pivotal event in George R.R. Martin's richly detailed universe. This is what he had to say. It starts with what George has done. I've now gotten to spend quite a bit of time with him, and there have been a lot of pinch-me moments of just kind of going through fire and blood, highlighting passages and asking him, "What did this mean? What is this? What I think it is." Sometimes really grilling him, going, "I don't understand. What's happening here?" And then other times going, "I think that it could mean this." But it's really taking that text and treating it like it's real history. That's one of the things that my approach to it was to that Fire and Blood is written like a real history, and these things happened. We know the history of Alexander the Great. We know the history of Napoleon. We know what the battles were. We know a lot of the people who died. We know in some cases what was said, or what might have been said. But we don't know everything. We don't know all of it. We kind of have these flagpoles that tell us this is how we marched through history. But then also, there's that great quote that somebody much smarter than I said, "History is written by the people who won." And so then there's that as well. For me, it's about making sure that I respect George, and I respect the text. And then also, it still has to be a dramatic story. Those characters have to go on a journey. They have to change. They have to go from a beginning to a middle to an end. Figuring out how to do all of that with the clues that that textbook has left for me, and go, okay, I'm going to interpret this very real history and try to make it a really vivid show that hopefully people love and don't hate, doing the best I can. It's refreshing to see that there are still people who truly value George R.R. Martin's work and want to bring the best version of his stories to our screens. I'm especially excited that the Aegon's Conquest spin-off is finally taking shape. Out of all the potential series, this is the one I'm looking forward to the most. It could be everything Martin envisioned and more. But that's all for today. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this. Are you hopeful for the future of Westeros on TV? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.